Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this regular City Commission meeting of August 26th. I appreciate everybody braving the weather outside to join us here tonight. And we will begin with an approval of the agenda as it was published. I have no motion, I have no changes to the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Marden, a second from Commissioner Coleman. Commissioner Marden, did you have any changes? Or that was it?
No, actually, what was the email that we got from Amy about the minutes late?
That's for the Board of Adjustment meeting after this commission meeting.
No further comment.
Okay, does the public have any questions on the agenda as it's been published? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. If you would, please rise for the invocation delivered by Minister Joy Glanzer tonight. And if you would, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to follow. Thank you, Minister Glanzer.
Please pray with me. Oh Lord, we're grateful for this community, for our elected officials, and for the citizens who call Newberry their home. Tonight we ask you to bless the decisions made here, and that those decisions will be keeping our city safe and will be in harmony with your divine plan. We acknowledge your presence and continue to appreciate the abundance we have here. By your grace do we live to enjoy this precious community, and because of your grace we will serve. Keep our minds clear tonight, Lord, so we may hear what options are before our commissioners and pray that their decisions are touched by your hand. And in thy precious name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Minister Glanzer. And will you turn my volume down just a little bit? We are still experiencing some technical difficulties on YouTube. Rest assured, we are recording it and we will post it on YouTube at the completion of tonight's meeting. But if you're trying to watch us live, it's going in and out. We are still working on it. Please be patient with us. Okay, so we have some presentations tonight. Our first presentation is about a Rotary Club project proposal happening at Newberry High School, and we're proud to have Principal James Shepard join us tonight. Come on down, sir, and tell us a little bit about what you got going on over there at the Pride of Newberry High.
Yes, sir. First of all, let me say good evening to everyone. I'm excited to be able to talk to you guys really about what is happening at Newberry High School. Mr. Bracewell, he's also here, assistant principal at Newberry High School, and we was just speaking, and we're excited about what happens at Newberry, because when we come to a volleyball game, we can see you guys' faces. Football game, I can see you guys' faces. Any type of presentations, we can see you all around. So we know you are part of Newberry High School. So anytime something is going on special at Newberry High School, we want to be able to share it with you and share it with the community. High school to be able to beautify Newberry High School and really want the community, if so, to take some partnership in it, but also really to know what's going on as well. And the Rotary Club has already started. I think we had, it was amazing, almost about 70 students to come out. Mayor Marlowe was with us on that day, and they did an awesome job. If you come around our bus circle area, you can see the job and what they've planted, the plant step. We want you guys to see what the next step is, and we're excited about it, and we'll let you take it from here and tell what we have.
Good evening. My name is Rory Casal, and I'm currently the president of Gainesville Sunrise Rotary Club. There are 5 Rotary clubs in Alachua County, 1 in High Springs, and there are 4 in Gainesville. We're the club that meets on Thursday morning at 7 a.m. You're welcome to join us at any time. So our Gainesville Sunrise Rotary Club has adopted an Interact Club, which there's never enough money to go around. So our club increased our contribution from 75 to 10. So we're at a $15,000 project, and we could come into the plaza area, introduce some landscaping, some seating, and make it look a little better, but we really wanted to do something bigger. What's on the right-hand side of this screen here is additional things that we could do that are just listed there and described. and you see a number at the very bottom. We'd really like to do a $44,000 project. So there should have been one more side. We can spend more money if we had more money, believe it, in order to make a more bang for our buck and enhance the school. So that's what we're trying to accomplish, and as part of Rotary, we're just happy to have the opportunity to work alongside. One last thing, we do have an Interact Club there. There are 2 young people that went to what we call rock.
For what you do for all the kids. I've never sponsored the Interact Club, but I've watched and helped every sponsor for the past 10 years.
Thank you.
And you guys have just done incredible jobs with those kids. You give them experiences, you expose them. It's coming, the weather has delayed her, and Principal Shepard has agreed to accept this proclamation on her behalf. Would you meet me at the podium, sir? We'll get a And now, Mr. Manager, it's time for our business spotlight of the month.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brian Thomas, our maker here in Newberry. Maria Rizzo started the business in 2008 here in Newberry, and then eventually expanded to her new location, her current location, which is in our historic district. It's here. Fortunately, she has lots of information on our website. You should go there and visit it, but we got to pull some fun stuff off of it. Let's see, she actually holds a cake camp for kids. She's got 2 different age groups, 7 to 10 and 11, direct flights from Gainesville to Dallas. Got a special attention for the drug and, what is it, the mascot being a bomb-sniffing security dog on top there, which I think was even edible. That's a Alachua County Fire Rescue 2018 Annual Award. It's actually a cake. And you can dive head first into Sugar Refine's cupcakes. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Maria Rizzo from Sugar Refine.
Come on down.
Thank you so much for having me. I thought I was just going to get up here and people, but
Congratulations.
yeah, so thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you very much. I do a lot of work for UF. I do a lot of work for the UAA, different departments. UF is always celebrating something. There's always an anniversary of a department, or a new building is open and being dedicated. Do a lot of work for the Gators in general. We do a lot of sorority work when they're doing Rush Week. Some of the fun cakes that everybody loves to see are the Gator cakes that we do every week during football season. I do the cakes for the President's Box. I do the President's Christmas parties, so they love to see all those Go Gator cakes. They're fun. Also do cakes every year for recognition for fire rescue personnel you saw up here. I do a lot of work for local law enforcement, different charity organizations, raising money for local law enforcement. And I also do something that I think is really special, which is called Icing Smiles. It's really good to me. The citizens are great, lots of sweet tooths, so they come in and get cupcakes, which is great. But overall, I tell this to people a lot too. Doing business in Newberry it's been really good. The taxes are affordable. There's not a lot of red tape and bureaucracy that you've got to go through as a business. I think it's pretty friendly as a business. Utilities are affordable, although some residents might disagree with me.
Whenever we're doing the rehab at the school up there, do you have room for our mayor to pick up some cupcakes to bring up there while we're all?
If you're working with your friends, if you're working with someone that has and you have a family who comes in and says that I have a reason to believe that my value is not reasonable, you have got to be able to listen to these people and decide that, yes, they are right. And there were people that were brought in to replace him that got into Mr. Crapo's ear, and they were not telling him the right things. And those people, some are gone, fortunately, some are not. The meeting outside the door for anyone who wants to put my name on the ballot.
Of Constitution Day, Constitution Week coming up, we have a proclamation tonight to celebrate by proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2019 as Constitution Week in the city of Newberry, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had.
The American Revolution. For those of you that know, and for some that may not, our goal is to perpetuate the memory and spirit of those who achieved our American.
Recently became a master municipal clerk. I know that is her to a T in the city of Newberry. In light of the speed and drastic
change this year, promises to be very large and exciting. We have some changes coming with that. The festival will be 11/23. It's a Saturday. It's the Saturday before Thanksgiving from 9 to 6. We will continue to work with the city and all the approving bodies there to get that due. And I think with that partnership, we can accomplish some really great things working with everybody. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. I have a second. I have a second. All right, Dallas. Motion from Commissioner Marden, second from Commissioner Coleman. Dallas, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners, the item before you tonight is a public hearing relating to the consideration of reimposing fire rescue special assessments for the provision of fire rescue services within the no written objections were filed. Mr. Mayor, that rate funds the average residential property taxes to make that same amount up by like $12.
Okay.
You'd reduce it, but then you have to raise it by the net of
Right.
$12 to stay flat in your budget.
Okay. No questions from the public? No questions?
Big asterisk on that.
Yes. No questions from the dais? Okay, we have a motion properly seconded. All those in favor?
And you don't know what that means to a company just starting out. So I just want to thank the city of Newberry from the bottom of my heart for all that you've done. You can't transfer a company, just turn it over. So when the opportunity came up for Newberry to do a housing grant, I said, Scott, I'm going to do the housing rehabilitation because this is the perfect way for me to say thank you. So I like, but Scott conducted the meeting. We had a great time, met a lot of folks. Out of that meeting, 22 folks took applications, and we received, I think, 13 or 14, 17 applications were accepted. Okay, so that's a pretty good turnout. And we've started meeting some of those folks that are on that applicant list, and that's the applicant list that I will ask you to adopt tonight. Okay. One of the things that you should be aware of is that some of these applicants may have a conflict of interest. What the state considers a conflict of interest means they might be related to. I'm going to be doing something of the city of Newberry. Another one is a resident of Alachua. So it's a good thing. We've also advertised for women and minority-owned businesses. So we try to, a serious thing that
You'll be able to serve with the grant.
we have to do.
The criteria and the vetting on all of those things.
Absolutely.
So call on that committee, but that committee is
Subject to a neighbor saying, well, 2 months down the road, well, didn't you know that, Mr., I don't want to use the name, Mr. A was related to, Commissioner B. Because if that happens, then we have to do an investigation.
I have a motion properly seconded. Any questions from the dais? Federally funded program, our state federally funded program. So the rules need a level of expertise that Mr. Dingham has that we do not possess. So, and he'll be confined by the rules of the grant. So there's nothing that this body could do except wish you luck that you're hopefully one of the 10 that gets awarded. And it's obviously up to you. If you decide that you don't want to be awarded the grant, then
But that does not mean.
yeah. But you're a lot farther than a lot of other folks would like to be. You're at least on the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just really quick.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. As the Mayor said, the item before you is a municipal building roofing project award. What we're requesting the board to consider and move forward with is authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Professional Roof Systems for alternate one architectural style shingle roof installation in lieu of a standing seam metal roof. Approved. Professional Roof Systems out of Dunellen is the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. So based on that fact and the money we have programmed in the budget, once again, we're requesting that we authorize the city manager to execute a contract under the terms and conditions that I just stated.
Thank you, Jamie. Does the commission have any questions for Jamie? Commissioner Farnsworth?
Did it last time?
It was before our time. Do you remember?
Now I can guess, but I think I never did.
Commissioner Coleman?
Why are we looking at going with a standing seam metal roof when we could just go with a standard metal roof? Well, and it is more commercial grade, but it would look more back when it originally.
We contacted every single one of those clients, and they said that they had a good working relationship, limited change orders, limited issues with the firm.
And Jamie, I guess the question I have is, we've been talking about
how we're going to hedge against this. I have no problem moving forward with that, with the recommending company. I would just encourage staff to make sure your whole, anything that could have been resolved with a site visit, they chose not to. Just in the interest of the citizens' money, I think we need to hold a pretty hard line.
Well, decking, rafter tails, subfascia, or anything that's encountered, because we fully anticipate, as old as this building is, that there will be some problems with the decking that has to be addressed, and you can visually see some issues with the decorative rafter tails that don't have to be addressed.
okay, and starting the process over again would be lengthy because historical was out of hand. No.
This new type of roof is far better. So they were both.
All of the updates and where we stand currently with our options for law enforcement.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be very brief in presentation. We had a workshop
For management's availability.
suggesting that. Real briefly through a discussion, 2020. It was a 3-year term. These are the costs for the 3-year term. So next fiscal year, the one that begins October 1, 2019, is going to be $836,000 and some change. We looked at to get through it, but I was just joking. I didn't. And the commission eliminated 5. We were left with alternatives 3 and 5. Running through the alternatives, and one that was $683,000 per year more. They have substantial levels of service. This was never an apples and apples comparison.
A deeper understanding of the issues and what Newberry cares about.
I guess I transmitted to the city manager that request, who transmitted that to the sheriff's office, and the response was the sheriff believed they were in full compliance, which
State law violation, issue a misdemeanor, possibly a felony. Likely it's going to be a misdemeanor citation, because the state attorney's office will enforce that level of violation. So they look for that as much as possible. We do have a very successful codes enforcement program, which mostly are.
Any other questions about the comment, Commissioner Farnsworth?
One of my concerns is the lack of the sheriff's department to be willing to assist in the mornings and the afternoons around the schools and patrolling that area.
$300, $330 daily.
I'm just being honest with you. The reality, the real world, this is how it works.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Farnsworth?
Sure.
Do you have any further questions?
To prepare for our own police department, or?
I think that's going to be a future conversation. A part of the conversation tonight can certainly include, what do we do for the future? I think that
had that data from the sheriff.
The Alachua Sheriff's option tonight. If you care for my reasoning, just contact me offline, and I'll be happy to provide that to anybody that wants it.
But I think part of this process of this communication and dialogue we've had with the residents be there Monday through Friday, and it's going to be very upset people if that person's not there. So that, I think, has to be something that's kind of set. Can you use your right arm to turn on the microphone? I don't want you to throw that one out.
I think so.
Please raise your left.
Commissioners, Mayor, Colonel Hugstep, congratulations, Master. Can somebody put the numbers up there again between the two differences? But that was our primary, have them float around the county.
It has to do with stop signs. It has to do with, just your other public comment about the motion on the floor. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Should we do a symbolic signing here while the camera's on? Or we'll wait. All right. Mike, why don't you have Brian come on down and talk about enforcement lien?
Reduced from $11,550 down to $500 if paid within 60 days, and that upon that payment, the lien be released.
Will the homeowners be in compliance after they pay the $500 and everything's cleaned up? And
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the home is in compliance as of May 13th, 2019.
okay.
Okay.
I move to approve the recommendation from the code enforcement.
I have a motion from Commissioner Farnsworth. I have a second from Commissioner.
There's a full process with the notification prior to a hearing that would impose the fine. At that point, I believe it's a 30-day process from the order saying that there has been the lot is no longer in compliance to remedy that. At that point, a $50 a day fine is imposed. I believe there was several communications with the code enforcement officer.
I don't know the financial situation of these people, but it sounds like they were still trying to work with us. I mean,
with the commission.
Were they not able to attend the meeting tonight to discuss the situation, or were they not invited?
Floor to reduce it.
To do undercut them, and I also don't want to set a precedent that could be manipulated later.
When elevated storage tank number 1 was being recoded, and we talked to the commission, storage tank 1 and deck.
But still caution the commission that whatever we put up there does become, just like that old tradition, they came, anybody want to argue for anything else, or we want to put a motion on the floor?
I like this one that's not listed up there.
Oh, God. Which one is it?
Number 2.
Can you scroll to number 2?
I absolutely will.
Number 2, City of Newberry.
Joy Glanzer. I know this is so important, so I'm glad to come up and talk about it. We put 4 kids through Newberry schools, kindergarten through 12th grade. 54 kid years is what we've spent. I'm a Panther. I bleed Panther blood. But, for Newberry downtown, we've started a economic development force, and it's going really well. And I think that identity is a big thing, and branding. And I think the logo is a big part of this. I mean, this
with since 1895 underneath it. Can you go back to number 2, Mike? What's number 2? That's number. Okay, moving on to comments. Should we let Commissioner Farnsworth start with his? No. We'll stick with tradition. Mr. Manager, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, you recall that last time I had should bring it into the city limits at the end of this week or the very beginning of next week, South Florida. And that your staff is taking appropriate from Florida altogether. I'd like to point out that just willing to hear our concern.
Madam Clerk?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Congratulations once again. And we are to Commissioner comments. Commissioner Coleman.
First off, I want to thank the city of Newberry for sending me to League of Cities.
Should we put that on an agenda? Commissioner Farnsworth, Commissioner Marden? Thank you. Commissioner Norfleet? I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I want to thank everybody who has weighed in on law enforcement. It's been a long conversation. It's nice to have a little bit of peace and stability, give us the opportunity to focus on other things.
Your call to artists, we did put the flyer out on the Newberry Main Street Facebook and the Firehouse Gallery. It is in celebration of the Newberry out. It's the fourth.
For the last 6 months who have messaged me or talked to me, who feel strongly that Newberry should be headed towards our own police department. I would say that we have a budget workshop on Wednesday. I am absolutely sure that the conversation about what steps do we need to be doing for that long-term visioning, long-term planning will come up. So that would be a wonderful opportunity. Any more public comment? All right, 2-minute break and we are adjourned.
All right, we're going to call to order, and let me get my phone out of the way here. I think that's what's going on. Yeah. All right, we're going to call to order this Board of Adjustments meeting for August 26, 2019. And approval of the agenda, which in this I guess we have to vote to add the minutes for 5/28/19 for approval. That's not on here.
If you want to include them, you need a
Do
motion.
y'all want to include that? Go ahead and include it.
I move that we
Add the minutes.
add the previous minutes to this agenda.
We got approval from Mr. Commissioner Farnsworth and a second from Commissioner Marden. All in favor? My voting? Say aye, or if not?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So 5-0. And I'm doing the best I can, guys. Okay, before we start with the new business, Mayor Jordan, if you would, need to know about what the decision or what the recap was on the planning and zoning on this.
I'd be happy to give you an update from the
City attorney shall read into the record the ordinance resolution by title and number or the applicant's name. If any of the commissioners has anything they need to disclose on this subject. And I'll start with Mr. Farnsworth.
I have none.
Marden?
None.
Commissioner Herson?
No, I have not had any discussion. I am.
IFAS Extension Office will be part of that rezoning, so it'll all be cohesive in one in addition to facing the building to the east, which the city had hoped the county would do, a aerial view of the location, Comoco Ranch and the equestrian.
Where are we at? Third party interview?
Yes,
You're gonna
Mr.
take-
Chair. Property that is closest, I'm sorry, my name is Joseph Seda. This is my wife Hillary Seda. We own the property that's closest to this building that they're putting in the Newberry Oaks community. And
Did we keep because during the P&Z, we measured from that property line to their property line. Do you remember the footage? It was 125 feet. I can't remember.
it's actually
And while Brian is figuring that out, I just want to, there are no current plans to build anything to the north. Now, all of that is privately held property. It's not held by the developer who sold you that house, so he has no authority to tell that.
everything.
We do have plans for an ag tech park, and I think, was there any buffering?
Facility, whatever that is, at night, you can hear quite a bit from where I am.
I can hear the football games from my house, and my house is about 3 miles away from the stadium.
We're just asking that since we're so in close proximity to everything that's going on, that you take into consideration.
So nothing's going north, it's going closer to the Canterbury.
It's just that much more noise. I mean, we're going to have to deal with whatever deliveries, whatever trucks, whatever garbage, whatever goes on there, and then eventually north. And I know you're saying that you're
that for the height, and then I'm not sure we ever got into the level of specificity. The normal setback is 25 feet, and the county agreed, is that right? The county agreed to increase it to 4.
Required by city.
Right, because of the
that's all in
P&Z.
the south end.
Was there any buffering in the 5 acres, in the north of the 5 acres? Were we ever talking about that?
No, Mr. Chair, there is no.
Kind of a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday type of activity. Canterbury is intended to be an event center, so there will be noise and events and traffic and those kinds of things. Mr. Manager, did you want to weigh in on any of those points?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Mayor, I'd point out 2 things. One, the conference center is Brian, so that I think that
Sure. Mr. Thomas, to see if there's any cross-examination. Is that where you're at, Mr. Attorney?
Is what allows those 2 rows of parking on the west. If we take that 15 feet away out of the neighborhood, so the county has been trying to make sure that they can get as much parking on the campus as possible. Do you remember the answer to that at the P&Z?
The parking spaces that they've provided for here are the required amount for during fairly substantial events. The lesser events, smaller events would be satisfied by the parking on the 5-acre parcel, the 100.
The one thing that I think that is important, particularly from the residents that have appeared, they're lying away with from this sort of situation, is that there is another bite at the apple, so to speak, that there will be a PUD or a planned development that'll whoever develops